Hi, my name is Joy Dean. I'd like to take just a few moments to explain our state history courses and our 50 states courses to you. The first thing I'd like to emphasize is that all our materials are from a Christian perspective. This means that we'll provide you with an accurate historical account with emphasis on events and historical figures that are good examples of character, patriotism, and biblical values for your students. You will not have to be on guard in our materials for overtones of evolution, humanism, socialism, or atheism. Our state history course offerings include a separate book for each one of the 50 states. So wherever you live, whichever state you happen to want to study, we can help you with the state history study. For our purposes today, we will be using the Colorado State History Student Booklet as our example. This is the textbook for grades 3 through 12. What the student does with this book is what determines the difficulty level and the length of the course. And it's very easy, very flexible, and I will explain that a little further into our discussion. Right now, I would like to point out that this is a book of handouts. And in the book, you will find all of the material that the student needs to transfer into a project notebook that he will make about his state. We provide the color state symbol pictures. We provide text, material, and maps that cover history, geography, cities, economy, weather, plants, animals, government, all the things that your student needs to learn. And also, we provide 6 quizzes, 2 tests, and an answer key in the back of the book. So this is a complete course. One other thing I'd like to point out before I leave this book is that we provide a study guide for your state constitution. This is from a Christian perspective. It's an excellent study. Your student will obtain a copy of the state constitution online or from your library, and then as he reads through the Constitution, he will be answering the questions in the study guide that we provide. It is from a Christian perspective, and it will help your student see right in his own state constitution the biblical concept of delegated authority and responsibility. Now, we do not recommend this for the younger grade levels, and it is not part of our basic 30-lesson course that we will talk about in a few minutes. But it is there in the book for your use with older students if you would like to include it. Your student will be cutting out the information from the student booklet and pasting it into a project notebook that he will make about his state. We have 2 options for the project notebook, and this is the first. This is My State Notebook by Abeka Book. It's a pre-formatted scrapbook, and the student will be putting information into the scrapbook about his own state. Our book is formatted so that the information can be cut out and pasted right into this book. This option is what we recommend for grades 3 through 8. The reason is the students don't have to worry about making pages or building a notebook, so they get to focus on the content and really enjoy the course, and yet at the end they have a beautiful notebook that they're proud to show with all of the things that they have learned about their state. Now I'd like to take a moment and show you a completed sample for the state of Colorado. This was made by a student. The first thing I'd like to point out is in the beginning, there are pictures from free tourist literature. We will tell you in the materials where to get free tourist literature about your state. And your student will be looking through the tourist literature. It's like taking a virtual tour of your state, and your student will pick out pictures and information about historical locations and interesting places, scenic places in your state that are of interest to him, and this information will be added to the notebook. And also, of course, the student will be including all of the material from our student booklet. Here you can see that we have a map that the student has colored and cut out, and then the information about the map also on the adjacent page. And so this is the way that the notebook works. Your student will read the information, follow the directions, coloring, cutting, working on the maps, and then paste all the information into the notebook. Here you see the state symbols. These are the pictures that were cut out of the student booklet, and then this is the text material that describes the state symbols for the state that your student is studying that will also be added into the notebook. Here's an example of the history page. Here you see the timeline, and this is cut out right out of our textbook and then pasted in along with all of the history pages that walk your student right through a chronological study of the history of your state. This is the other example of the project notebook, the other option, and we recommend this for grades 9 through 12. The reason we like this option for grades 9 through 12 is because it encourages creativity, it teaches organizational skills, and also it allows for a lot of material in the way of expansion projects, additional projects and research to be added into the notebook. Now the methodology is still the same. Your student will be taking the pages right out of the student booklet, and by the way, they are perforated so they tear out very easily. Your student will be tearing those pages out, 3-hole punching them, and adding them right into his notebook. And of course your student will also be adding pictures and information from free tourist literature into his notebook. This is the Master Lesson Plan book. This is the teacher's instructions, and it contains everything you need to know about all the options and the easy ways to adapt our course to your particular grade level and your particular course length requirements. In the beginning of this book, you will find a 30-lesson teacher-directed course. Each lesson takes about 20 or 30 minutes. If you were to do it every day, 30 lessons would be 6 weeks. You can see that right here you have instructions for the My State Notebook option, and then below it you have instructions for the binder option. So if you're teaching a 4th grader, you're going to follow the My State Notebook options, instructions, and if you're teaching an 11th grader, you would want to follow the binder instructions. If you happen to be teaching both grade levels at once, it's very simple because there your instructions are right on the same page. And at the bottom of each lesson, we have a section called Expansion Suggestions. These are the suggestions for the additional projects and activities that will help you to be able to increase the depth and the difficulty level of the course and the length of the course on an individual basis if you're working with various grade levels according to your expectations for each particular student. In the back of this book, we have something else that's very interesting. We have a 1-semester independent study guide. Now this is a 90-lesson course. It's written to the student, and it will tell your student exactly what to do every day, when to pull the pages out of the student booklet and read them, how to set the notebook up, where to put everything in the notebook, and it will assign additional projects and research to your student to fill out the course to a 1-semester course. As I said, it's very simple for your student to follow. The length and the depth of the projects is still up to you. For instance, when your student gets to the cities section in the course, we will provide a page that has a paragraph about 5 or 6 of the major cities in your state, and then we will tell your student to choose a city that interests him and do a report on that city. But as the instructor, you will be able to tell your student whether you want 1 paragraph or whether you want 3 pages plus pictures about that particular city. So it is very flexible. Now, before I leave this book, I would like to point out that at the top of each lesson, you can see instructions for My State History Fun Book. Everything we've been talking about so far is for grades 3 through 12, but we also have a course for age 3 up to 2nd grade, and it is called My State History Fun Book. The advantage of this lesson plan book, if you're teaching multi-grade levels, for instance, a kindergartner and a 4th grader and 11th grader, is that it will correlate all 3 grade levels for you. You can teach all the way from age 3 up to 12th grade all together using our materials, and your instructions are right here on 1 page. Here is our fun book. This is My State History Fun Book for age 3 up through 2nd grade, and you can see that it is a little color cut and paste activity book that gives your student fun things to do on his own grade level so that he will be able to learn about his own state. It's really a very fun course, and the little ones, of course, if they are learning right along with their older brothers and sisters, they will love being able to make a book of their own. Now, this starts out as a blank pre-formatted scrapbook. We provide you with the activity pages for the state that you wish to study. And so whatever state you want, you request that state, and we will send you, as part of your fun book packet, the activity pages for that particular state. The first thing I'd like to point out about the packet is that it does have the instructions for the teacher. So if you're only teaching young students, you do not need to order the Master Lesson Plan book. If you're teaching all the students in various grade levels together, then the Master Lesson Plan book includes these instructions as well for your convenience. In this packet, you have all of the cutouts that your student will need to put into the notebook, beginning, of course, with the color state symbol pictures, and then including the little puzzles and games and informational cutouts that they will be putting into their notebook. And, of course, they also will be adding free tourist literature pictures just like the old ones, and will really enjoy looking through those pictures and taking a virtual tour of their state as they look through the tourist literature. Now, after I finished all the 50 individual states, I had learned so many things that were really exciting and inspiring to me in many cases. And I realized most people only study their own state, so a lot of the things that I learned studying other states, most people would probably never see. So I went through all 50 books and pulled out everything that I thought was interesting and important and put it in one book, and I call this my I Love History book. This is a book that covers all 50 states in order of statehood and gives the highlights of each one of the states. Now, the fact that they are in order of statehood is very important because in the front of this book we have a timeline and a progressive map study. So as your student studies the individual states in order of statehood, he's also watching the United States map grow and change as states and territories are being added. There are 4 pages per state in this book. The first page is a page of just fun, interesting facts. The students all really love and enjoy this page. The next 2 pages are work pages of important state data. Your student will fill these pages out. In the back of the book, we have included a reference section, and everything that your student needs to fill out those work pages is included in the reference section in the back of the book. Also, we include the state symbol pictures for all 50 states in the back of the book. So this book is completely self-contained. Your teacher instructions and lesson schedule is in the front. All of the reference material, the state symbol pictures, and all the answer keys are in the back. The student works right in the book, and the book stays intact. So when the student is finished, he has a nice reference book to keep on all the 50 states. The 4th page is an I Love History discussion of something related to each state that's interesting either from a Christian or a historical perspective. This is my favorite page. There are a lot of really interesting stories that your student will enjoy. For instance, did you know that 4 Indian chiefs traveled all the way from the Northwest Territory to St. Louis in search of the book because they had heard that the white men had a book that would tell them how they could find forgiveness for their sins? That's a story that's in our book, and the end of the story is just as exciting as the beginning. So your student will enjoy reading stories like that. Now, there are 5 review lessons in the book. By the end of this book, your student will be able to identify the 50 states on a map. Your student will be able to list them in order of statehood. Your student will learn the 2-letter abbreviation, the nickname, and the capital city of each one of the 50 states. That book is for grades 3 through 12. This is the color cut and paste version for age 3 up to 2nd grade. You can use this independently of the other book, or if you have children in both grade levels, you can teach all the levels together, again, all the way from age 3 up to 12th grade. Now, this is a color cut and paste version, and it also has 4 pages per state. It covers the date of statehood, the capital city, it covers state symbols, and it covers a little bit of map work, and then information about interesting people that are associated with each state. We include the interesting people because at the younger grade level, students fixate on heroes, and we want to give them good heroes so they will learn godly character and godly values. In the back of this book, you will find all of the cutouts and all of the state symbol pictures for all 50 states. So again, this book and the older level book are completely self-contained. You don't need anything else to go with it. Everything you need to do the book is included right in the book. Before we leave, I would like to explain one more book to you. This is our geography of the 50 states. This book has 2 purposes. The first one is to teach your student U.S. geography. The second one is to correlate in your student's mind geography and history. If your student can understand how much the geography of our country affected the way that our country grew, then geography becomes meaningful and interesting. The first thing that your student will learn in this book is the geographical regions of the United States. And then your student will start studying the individual states in order of statehood. As he learns about each one, he will be numbering it on this order of statehood map. Then periodically we will stop and have your student color in the states he's learned so far. We'll look at that growth pattern and compare it with the geographical regions that your student will also be learning progressively more about throughout the course. Again, the reason we do that, and the states are presented in the order of statehood and then correlated with geography, is because we want to make that connection in your student's mind between history and geography. Now, here's a good example I'd like to quickly share with you. Here you see Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, and you can see they were state number 17, 19, and 21. Here is Michigan, and it's state number 26. Obviously, even though those four states are all close together, Michigan was settled quite a bit later than the other three states. Now, why is that? Well, we're going to answer that question in our book, and it's really very simple. People were coming from the east, and that meant they had to cross the Appalachian Mountains. Well, of course, in that day, to get across the Appalachian Mountains, you had to go south through the Cumberland Pass, then north again across the Ohio River before you could get into the Ohio River Valley. And of course, that was a very long, hard trip. And by the time they reached that beautiful, fertile Ohio River Valley, they were done. They did not want to travel anymore. And so nobody traveled farther north to Michigan. However, when the Erie Canal was finished, all of a sudden you could travel from the Hudson River in New York right straight across to Detroit, Michigan, and you could do that in 3 weeks' time. Now, that seems like a long time to us, but that was amazing to the people in that day. And suddenly people just flocked into Michigan, and within just a few short years, Michigan's population had tripled, and shortly after that, Michigan became a state. So that's just one example of how the geography of our country affected the way that it grew. Now, in this book as well, there are 4 pages per state. Your student will be learning about the land regions of his state, and as you can see, because it's a geography book, it's full of maps, so your student is always going to be labeling and coloring the maps as he reads. Your student will also be learning about the geographical features of his state, rivers, mountains, landforms that might be unique to that state, and also you can see here by the underlined term that your students will be learning geographical terms and definitions. The 4th page covers the cities, the major cities of that state. Now, this is a really interesting page. Lots of very interesting historical accounts that will help your student really get a feel for what that state is all about. One of the major reasons that we included this discussion of cities is because your student will not be able to help noticing as he reads those historical accounts of those cities how often a geographical factor is mentioned in the history of the city. And so that's, again, a good way to establish a connection in your student's mind between history and geography. Now, there are 5 tests in that book as well, and they are cumulative. So by the end of the book, your student will know all of the geographical terms and definitions, and your student will be able to take a blank U.S. map like this and fill in all the names of the geographical regions and all the major geographical features of the United States. Now, all of our courses can be used independently. They are standalone courses by themselves, but we have a suggestion for you. We like to recommend that you combine in a 3-course combination our 2 50 states courses, the Geography of the 50 States and the 50 States Under God, with your own state history course. And basically, you're going to study your way through all the 50 states in order of statehood, and when you come to your state in chronological order by statehood, that's when you insert your 30-lesson course on your own state. Now, you can do this either in 2 years, which is really a very doable program for most homeschoolers, 4 days a week, about 20 or 30 minutes a day, or if you're working with older students, you can easily accomplish it in 1 year at a regular class period, probably 50 minutes to an hour per day and 5 days a week, and you'll be able to get through all the 50 states. We do provide you with a number of different course combination suggestions and also schedules that will tell you exactly how to do that. This schedule is in all 3 of our books, the Master Lesson Plan book, the 50 States Under God, and the Geography of the 50 States. And also you can print it from our website along with other combination course suggestions. But it will tell you exactly what to do each day in each book to walk your way through using the 3 3-course combination, and it also correlates the younger level using the 50 States Under God for Young Learners and the Fun Book, so that even in the 2-year course or the 1-year course, if you choose to do it that way, you can teach all your students together all the way from age 3 up to 2nd grade. Thank you for your time. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to call me or email me from the website. You can find our contact information at www.statehistory.net. Thank you very much for your time.